Gas stations across Iran have suffered problems disrupting a government system managing fuel subsidies. The oil ministry attributed the disruption to a technical snag within the system that left motorists stranded on long lines at shuttered stations. The ministry says that the entire digital payment mechanism that supports the subsidized payment system is out of service for a while. It noted that non-card sales of gasoline remain unaffected, and that this means that motorists can fill in their tanks with the unsubsidized rate. That's twice the price till the problem is fixed. Now, according to some reports, the outage might have occurred due to cyber attacks. From Bristol, let's bring in Tony Gosling, an investigative journalist. Tony, good to have you with us. So, it's before this, Iran is facing this problem. You know, the UK had that fuel problem. Then we have the US soaring prices of energy, and now this is happening in Iran. I wonder if we can make a comparison, or there are also words on possibility of cyber attack.
Well, I just love the way that you at Press TV have shared this important aspect of this story, that the card payments are subject to a 50% discount and that people have to pay more if they're paying cash. Now, I would suggest to everyone around the world that this is a very unwise way to do things, because actually card payments are extremely unreliable when it comes to the possibility, as we may have seen, with hacking. We really need to make sure that we keep parallel systems going with cash, so something that people can actually hold in their hand. Quite actually how valuable that piece of paper is questionable, but the fact is it's a legal tender, and we should never be saying that, if you use a card it's a lot cheaper and it's a subsidised system. This is extremely unwise, because it then opens, as may have happened in Iran, the system up to cyber attacks. And I mean, the Stuxnet, your obvious thing in Iran is the 2010 Stuxnet attack, which was a computer virus which had been being put together for at least 5 years, mainly by the Israelis, but obviously with US help before that. And so we need to be extremely careful now, because rather than open warfare, the Western powers, the Anglo-Zionist Empire, their intelligence services, their signals intelligence, surveillance, and their offensive capabilities are now being switched over to things like cyber warfare. They've invested massive amounts of money in this, and they see it as something where they can do these things and then just keep quiet about it, and hopefully nobody will know it's them. Now, I'm not saying that's what's happened in Iran. It may simply be some unscrupulous oil people have decided they want Iranians to pay the high rate rather than the low rate for their fuel and make more money. I think that's what was going on here in Britain with the petrol companies in the UK last month. Have increased the price enormously of fuel. This is the sort of thing that happens in banana republics in much of the developing world, where you have non-democratic regimes, dictatorships, and really bought regimes, countries. Is that what happens is the fuel companies starve the supply just as an excuse to up the price of the fuel. And of course, this is something which must be regulated by the nation, because it's so open to fuel companies, oil companies exploiting those actual figures. So, yes, surveillance is obviously going on by the West on Iran, quite possibly cyber warfare too. The reason we know this is two major leaks. One is by a certain young man who's on trial. Well, it seems like that. It's actually an extradition hearing to the United States in London at the High Court tomorrow. That is Julian Assange. He leaked something in March 2017 called Vault 7. Now, Vault 7 was one of the most important leaks, although it's sometimes brushed over. It explains that all these conspiracy theories about cyber hacking by the Western intelligence services are true, and it details them. Things like being able to hack into locomotives to force them to go at top speed and crash. Things like being able to hack into aircraft, cars, cause assassinations, like what possibly happened in 2013 to the US journalist Michael Hastings, when his car went up to 80 miles an hour and out of control after he just upset some senior US Afghan generals. And so this has to be taken seriously, this kind of attack, and it is a potential act of war. But then it could also be just an excuse by those oil companies to get more revenue in, so that the drivers over in Iran can't pay the subsidised amounts. So that's very important to consider. I don't know for sure, and very few people will do, what's really happened here until we get a proper investigation.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Tony Gosling, investigative journalist in Bristol.